Good afternoon. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Andrew Mitchie from the Department of Industry, Innovation and Science, and today our speaker is David Inches from Inspired by Marketing, and he'll be talking to us about high-performance tourism websites. Over to you, David.
Excellent. Thanks, Andrew. Hello, everybody. I'm the other half of the Blue Shirt Brigade. We didn't really plan that very well today, but this is my first webinar, so I'm really glad to be here today. We've got an hour and a half, which is plenty of time, and we've allowed plenty of time for questions. So I'm sure the pre-roll video explained how you can ask questions, and Andrew will be facilitating those, and depending on how many questions will depend on how many we can answer, but we'll get through as many of those as we possibly can. I got some advice last night as I was walking out from the family, and I said, look, you know, a big day tomorrow, my first webinar. You got any tips for me? And my daughter said, Dad, for whatever you do, just don't make a joke. And my son said, wear a mask so you don't offend anybody. So that's all of the support that I've got for today. So I'll try and keep true to at least one of those. So I think let's progress. I'm in control. Okay. So my background. I'm based up in Cairns, but I'm a Hobart born and bred, and decided to make this change about 6 years ago. But I've been in tourism since nearly 20 years now, and I've been in Inspired by Marketing for the last 10 years. So I'm a one-man band, and I work across all different industries, but I'm sort of grounded in tourism. I'm a very passionate traveller. I have spent a lot of time working with tourism businesses, and that's where I learnt, you know, the art of marketing was in a tourism company in Tassie. So tourism is certainly where I do as much work as I possibly can. And of course, you know, the websites are such important assets today in tourism. And that's what we'll be talking about today. I'll be sharing what I've learned over the years, and you'll actually notice that there's a download for a checklist as well. So all of the topics that I cover in today's session, you will be able to go through and audit, if you like, your own site, and that will give you a bit of a list, so you can help progress the performance of your own websites. This is part of a 3-webinar series, so I'd love to see you on the next 2 webinars as well. So the next one is on the 20th of June, Tourism SEO Fundamentals. And I'll be talking again about 10 actions to drive your tourism website up the Google rankings. All of these sessions are very practical, example-based sessions. I won't be drowning you in theory. I have been a tourism operator and worked in and for tourism businesses, so I understand the reality between perfect theory and the reality of business. And I know that you've all pulled yourself away from your business to attend this session today. So Tourism SEO Fundamentals is on next Monday. And then on the 23rd, we have maximising your return on investment through social media for tourism. So that's about getting your maximum return. It's about powerful content, pinpoint distribution. So they're the next couple of sessions. What I won't be doing in these sessions is going into extreme detail on the detailed learning of implementation. So we're in a wonderful time whereby really anything you'd like to learn, if you Google it, you will find content. And there are explainer videos galore online. So, if you're really keen to learn Google Analytics inside out, you will find a whole stream of videos from Google, which will teach you absolutely everything you need to know. And that goes for the other webinars as well. So whether you'd like to learn how to do Facebook ads, I'll go over the steps, but I won't go into half an hour on the details of it, because the best place for you to learn those details is sitting at home without the pressure of work, with a coffee or an Irish coffee or whatever you choose. But that's the best place to really learn and practice the details. So all of these webinars will be at a higher level, and as I said, they'll all be very sort of action-based. In terms of the outcomes of today's session, Obviously, I'll be running through what I believe makes a high-performance tourism website, and then you'll have your checklist, whereby later on you can go through and get yourself a bit of a list that you can approach your web developer in terms of improvements for your own website. Or you may choose that it's time to build a completely new website after today's session. But this will give you the grounding of a brief that you can take to your web developer, because it's very important you give them a really solid brief. I mean, they're experts in building websites, but the chances are they will not know the industry like you do. And they probably won't know your customer. I'm sure they won't know your customer like you do. So really important you're across this to give them a very tight brief. And as I mentioned before, Andrew's here, so he'll be going through your questions. Shoot them through any time. There may be a delay in terms of how they're presented and how we run through them. I may not know everything. I'm a strategist. So I'm more focused on what needs to be done and for what reason, and I have a team of people who are far more skilled at me than the technical side of web strategy and build. But please fire any question and I'll do my very best to answer it. In terms of the flow of today's session, I'll be skipping back and forth between some insight, and then I'll show you a few different websites. And I've just kept it down to a few websites today. There are lots of great websites out there, but I'm going to be referencing my view by example. So we'll be scrolling through different websites, and I'll be pointing out different aspects to show my opinions in practice. But there are sort of four components to it. The first one is strategy and planning. So if we don't have a strategy and a plan to guide any of our digital work, we could be heading east looking for a sunset. We'll talk about the function of a website, then we'll talk about layout and content, and then we'll talk about insights. So we'll run through each of those four sessions now, and we'll start with strategy and planning. But I think the big question is, why are we doing this? Why should you invest in your website? And it's quite common that I see a lot of businesses that will spend a lot of money getting people to their website. So they will invest in Google AdWords, their brochures are out there, they're attending trade shows, and maybe travel agents or media might go to their website as well as potential customers. But when we get to the website, if the website isn't primed for conversion, you're really wasting all that money. Now, people will find you without promotion, but there's also that money, time and effort you spend on pushing people to your site. If the website isn't best practice and it's not maximising the potential for every visitor to become a booking, you're really wasting your money up front. So in terms of your digital marketing investment, the website is always the place to start. So to maximise that conversion is very important, and certainly visitors to bookings and inquiries should be one of the key metrics on your website, because at the end of the day, that's the ultimate outcome that we're looking for. So in terms of strategy and plans, we could run a whole session on strategy and planning. So I've really brought it back to basics. So in terms of a digital strategy, there are just some fundamentals that you really should have documented before you start sort of taking the step into really any of your digital activity. And one is you should have a marketing plan, which is your input document. And many aspects to a marketing plan, but the aspect that's really important for your digital strategy is truly understanding your priority customers, what they're looking for from a holiday experience in your destination, and how they're behaving online. And again, there's no point running through all of that today because it would take up the hour and a half. But there is no shortage of information, whether they're backpackers or grey nomads, whether they're from different countries, visiting, fly and stay, if they're travelling through. Really any type of visitor, there's just a mountain of knowledge in terms of their online behaviours, in terms of what they're looking for from a holiday experience in your destination. So it's really important to do your homework, understand your customer, how they're behaving, and then ask yourself the all-important question, so what? So if a customer is behaving this way, say grey nomads are particularly active on a particular review site, or maybe there's a community site, or depending on how they're behaving, you need to ask yourself the question, what's the implication of that behaviour to how I approach digital marketing? I often see marketing plans where there's a list of all of these behaviours, but the next step isn't taken, which is the important step, which says, well, what does that mean? How do I react based on that behaviour? So if you go through, pull down all the research from Tourism Australia or your state or your RTO tourism body, sit down and have a chat with them if you've got the time. That they really welcome operators coming in, talking to them and running through their research. And pull the insights out and ask yourself the question, what does that mean in terms of my response to their behaviour? You also need to, fairly simple, but determine the online assets that you're going to invest your time and your money into. So a website is sort of our starting point, but which social media assets? If you're going to invest in a booking engine, which engine is it? And can you adopt some of their widgets? And we'll talk a bit about that today. What other online assets do you need to invest time and money into? Because investing time and money into everything is often not the answer. And again, have a look at the behaviour of the traveller. That would tell you the different social sites they're using for travel. Google Travel have a lot of information. I know Census have a lot of information. So a lot of information out there. Select your distribution channels. You have your own channels, and then you have third-party channels for distributing your product, whether it's Viator and others for tours and activities, or whether it's the multitude of OTAs and or your local tourism organisation website, for example, through the Australian Tourism Data Warehouse. Think through what your options are and get focused on those the highest return channels for your business. Have a view on the content. So I often suggest to businesses, well, I always suggest that we actually start working up content in terms of themes. So an example is I have a fishing charter business and we're looking to capture some themes. One is camaraderie. We're looking to capture content around people bonding and sort of working together and having a great time on fishing trips. And we like to capture the challenge, the fight is another theme. So you can be specific. For you, it might be natural encounters or romance or indulgence. But getting clear on what your content themes are for your website and for your other assets just helps give everybody clarity in terms of the sort of content that you are looking for, and then also talk about the content you're not looking for. So, for example, on our fishing charter, we're not looking for fishermen sitting there with cans of beer or swearing or being inappropriate. So we pretty much only have an hour window on fishing charters to capture content early in the morning. But it just gives everybody clarity in terms of the content that we're looking to capture, and then talk about which channel is that going to go through, and how often are we going to post. And again, there's a lot of insight on how consumers are behaving, whether it's on Facebook or whether it's website visitation trends. All of this data is available. So just think through that. Also, have a think about your resources. So in terms of people in your team or suppliers you might want to bring in, how much money you might want to invest. In terms of your plan, you should have a view on all of that. And you should have your measurements. And we'll talk a little bit today about website measures in terms of what some of those measures might be. And we'll sneak into Google Analytics and we'll have a look at some of the key measures that you can find in Google Analytics to help you track your performance. But with all of the social assets, there's probably more data there is more data than we need. So we'll just talk through what some of the key measures might be. So if you really followed that structure and thought through those aspects, you'll have a really good basis to direct your digital activity. So I suggest that should be a starting point for any web development project. Probably one of the key aspects in terms of the next layer of strategy is your keyword strategy. I won't go into a lot of detail today because on Monday the 20th we're running a full session on search engine optimization. But the reason it's relevant today is because we need to get the right customer into the website. If we're attracting the wrong customer by selecting the wrong keywords, say the keywords not that relevant for our website. So people are coming into our website that are sort of looking for something else. Maybe we offer small group four-wheel drive tours, but maybe the keywords we're chasing are outback tours. So we're getting people to our site that are more after bus tours, or maybe we're targeting keywords like outback adventure. So we're getting do-it-yourself drivers to our website. So if we're getting the wrong customer, our website won't perform as effectively. And there's only so many keywords or keyword phrases that we can physically target and be successful in. If we try and target 20 keywords for a page, there's no way we'll be successful. It's just chasing too much. Google will get confused. It won't be clear. So you want to be very careful about the keywords that you select. And there are different tools that I'll run through in the next workshop. And one is semrush.com.au. I have a subscription I'll share with you, but the free tool is still quite impressive. I have some other operators in different regions that have actually, maybe it's $150 a month to access it, but I have other operators where 5 of them have pulled together and put some money in the tin, and they're sort of pooling their use of that resource. There's also another program we'll run through called the Google Keyword Tool, but so I won't go through the detail of that now. But it is really important to consider your keyword strategy when you're building your website. We want to make sure that we've got the right keywords, and we also want to make sure that our website is structured towards that. So years ago, what we used to try and do was optimize our homepage. So we really wanted people to hit our homepage was the thought process. What we're looking to do these days is our homepage it's called optimized, so we'll be setting up our homepage to capture more of the generic search term. So that could be more of a generic accommodation search, or to do with car rental. It could be to do with small group tours, adventure, outback tours. But then what we want to do is we want to get down to our product pages. So if we're offering a Kimberley tour, a 4-night Kimberley tour, or if we're offering honeymoon accommodation packages or luxury accommodation packages, what we want to do is have a page for that specific product. And then we optimize that specific page to rank really well for Kimberley small group tours or East Coast Tasmania small group tours. So in Google, what we're looking to do is we're looking for someone types in the Kimberley small group tour, we want them to find that Kimberley tour page on your website. We don't want them to go through the first page because it's just another click. So the way we look at search has changed, and if you join me on Monday, we'll go into that in a lot more detail. It's also important to get the right customer through the right keywords, because there are a number of things that Google will rank you on which will take you up the listing, as we'll go through on Monday. But the relevance with this now is that the more time people spend on your website and the more pages they visit is leveraged as a Google ranking opportunity. So Google will say, this website is getting a lot of high quality traffic, they're spending a lot of time, they're going to a lot of pages, therefore I see that website as having authority and relevance to the customer. If we're getting a lot of irrelevant traffic to our website, whether it's through AdWords or whether it's through organic search, they're going to what's called bounce. They're going to bounce off our site. Google will simply see that we have a high bounce rate, which is people coming in and leaving from the same page, and start to determine us as not as relevant. So we lose a few points in terms of our Google relevance. So very important to get the right person through to our website. What I'll do now is I'm just going to quickly show you an example. So I'm just going to sneak across now to Peregrines Adventures website. So there are a number of websites that we'll be looking through today, and Peregrine's one of them. So the websites I've chosen, this was designed a few years ago, so there are actually some design changes and some structural changes that I might recommend for this site, but it has the fundamentals really strong. And what we're looking for here is to explain keyword strategy. So this is their homepage, and we've got here the spirit of adventure. So Google will look at this heading, it's probably called their page title, And the words in here are very important. So the word adventure is clearly a keyword which Peregrine have decided is important for their homepage because it encompasses the DNA of their product. It's obviously searched on Google at some volume, and it's the essence of their brand. You can see down here in the next rung of copy, we embrace the spirit of adventure. So we've got it in twice now. That means delivering exceptional travel experiences to our passengers by providing them premium adventures. So now they're starting to expand on the keyword to bring in premium for over 80 destinations around the globe. So what they're not doing here is spamming us with adventure, 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 but they're getting the word adventure and premium adventure right up front. So Google will see those keywords before it will see others. We then sneak down here. It means hand-picked accommodation, intimate small groups, award-winning local guides, inclusions and a slower, more considered pace. Premium standards for an exceptional experience, but never an artificial one. Welcome to a new style of adventure travel. So you can see there are a handful of keywords that they've made sure they get right up the front in terms of their website, but there's not mountains of copy. The page is still highly visual, and they will have reflected this in the back end of the site. We'll talk about that on Monday. When you go down, exceptional local experiences. The word local they use here a lot because local and local guides is important to them. Intimate small groups, quality accommodation. So I won't go into that anymore from a keyword perspective, but just to demonstrate how a keyword strategy applies in practice. And you'll notice later on that when we go to their Arctic or their Africa page, they'll be using the word Africa and safari and those types of keywords in conjunction with local guides, small groups, adventure, accommodation, premium. So you build it up to be more specific as you get down to the pages on the website. But we'll come back to that later. Okay, so in terms of the basics for SEO, in terms of what's relevant to your website, because a lot of search engine optimization happens off your website, but some of it happens on your website. So at the highest level, one is to set your keyword strategy we've talked about. Two is we need to optimize your back end of your website. So we'll actually have a look at that on Monday. And for example, Google can't see an image. I can't tell you that it's Niagara Falls. But if in the back end of your website we go and write Niagara Falls behind that picture, Google can read that. So all of that helps to optimize your website. So there's a lot of technical things we need to do. We also need to optimize the copy. I just showed you an example of how Peregrine have optimized their copy. We need to have more and original content being added to the website all the time. And a blog is a common way to do that. And what we need to do is we need to make sure those keywords are in your blog. A blog is just an article, just a fancy name for a travel article. So we need to make sure the keywords are in that blog. So we're constantly building up your keywords, but we're always speaking naturally. It always sounds appealing for the customer. We don't want to spam people with mountains of keywords because Google will punish us for that. Google also loves video, probably because they own YouTube, and it needs to be mobile responsive. So Monday we will go into that in a lot more detail. So let's start to look at now in terms of the function. And of course, please, I do encourage questions. We have allowed plenty of time today for questions. So if you do have any questions at any time, I'll stop midway through and I'll try and answer those questions as best I can. But yeah, please feel free.
Look, at present we don't have any questions. But again, I'd encourage people to ask questions during the live session to get a more interactive, more instant feedback.
Absolutely. Now's your chance to put me on the spot. So anything you'd like to know anytime, please.
Actually, we have a question.
We have a question, great.
Yes, we have a question here from Matthew. Very straightforward one. What does SEOs mean?
Excellent.
Lovely acronyms.
Very good question. I will break down all acronyms. I can't even say that word, but I'll break them all down going forward. I apologise for that, Matthew. So, search engine optimization. So that's basically the list of things you need to do to get your website up the Google rankings. So when somebody types in Cairns waterfront accommodation and you want to make sure you rank up the top there, whatever's relevant to your business and location, there are a number of things we have to do to get up there, and that collective task is referred to as search engine optimization, or SEO for short. So thank you for that question, and anybody please, if we need to uncover anything like that, please ask me and I'll take a step backwards. Thanks for that. So in terms of function, I mentioned before responsive design. So what responsive design means is that your website will reshape and restructure so it works effectively on any size device. So if you go into a mobile phone these days, you'll often notice that they call it the hamburger, but there's a little square with some lines in it, and when you click on it, it drops down a menu. So the whole site works beautifully no matter whether you're on your mobile phone, whether you're on your tablet, your large screen MacBook, or whether you're on your laptop. So very important for a number of reasons to be mobile friendly. Particularly people are booking as they go now, particularly with tours and activities, rent-a-cars and attractions. So a lot of people are booking in region, a lot of people are sitting by the pool, they're searching. If they find you on a Google search and they bring up your website, if it's not mobile responsive, that's when you have to, scroll in and move around the page because it's clearly a desktop website. Drives you crazy. You'll often leave the website, go to something else. So absolutely imperative that if you don't have a mobile responsive website, it really is time to reinvest in a new website. You can't make your current website mobile responsive. It's built in a completely different way. Any new website that will be delivered to you these days will be mobile responsive, but of course make sure you get it in that brief to your web developer. But I can't imagine anybody would issue a website these days that is not mobile responsive. You also have complete control about which content is displayed on which version. So often you might find that if someone's looking on your phone, more often than not, they're also looking for your phone number, your email address. Maybe it's your physical address. So how you display and the order and priority of content on your mobile phone may be a little different to how you do that on your desktop. Because the mobile phone user is probably a much shorter lead, or maybe they're just researching on a train and they'll go back to their desktop. But you have complete control. So make sure that when you're working with your web developer that you don't just sign off on your desktop layout when you're building a new website, or don't just consider that functionality. Make sure your web developer is giving you layouts for the mobile version as well as layouts for the desktop version. A number of businesses, as their mobile statistics are growing, and on Google Analytics, I'll show you later, it actually shows you how many people are accessing your site. Have another question, Andrew?
Yeah, we've got another question from Angela. Right. How often should you write a blog to keep the website interesting? So I guess this is about updating your blogs.
Great, perfect. Yeah, very good question. Very important. I would suggest probably no more than every fortnight and no less than every month. So somewhere between one a month or two a month is where you really want to sit with that. And we'll talk a bit later about then what you do with that blog, because the next thing is, well, it's on my website. So I'll actually touch on blogs from a number of different perspectives through this presentation. But if you were doing once a month, but if you could do one every couple of weeks, that would be a really good result. Of course, you have to have the content. So what we don't want to do with anything online is really go for volume over quality. We've always got to run quality first. So if you feel you only have something that's relevant and can be keyword rich once a month, that's where you should run. But if you've got a wealth of content that will be relevant to your audience every couple of weeks, any more than that I think gets a bit spammy and people will switch off. But that is my recommendation there. Thanks, Angela. So with responsive, so make sure that you have a look at the different layouts. Google will also deduct points for you in terms of your ranking up Google if you do not have a mobile responsive website. So it's very important from that point of view at all. And they've been very open to tell the industry that that was the step they were going to take, because the trend towards mobile is so big. If you do not have a mobile responsive website, in their eyes, you're not considerate enough of your customer, so they will, take a point off, so to speak. So mobile responsive, and I've put it first for that reason. It's an absolute essential these days. Online bookings and inquiries. So there are many options out there in terms of online booking engines, and I won't go into them all today. But generally your local, your regional, your local tourism organisation will provide assistance in terms of advising you on different engines. Speak with other people around your industry, see what they like, what they don't like. So there are a number of them. One that I have installed recently for two clients is called Rezdy, R-E-Z-D-Y, Tours and Attractions. I've been a big fan of that. That really seems to be doing the job, but I'll leave you to have a look at that yourself. But it's important to have that booking engine front and centre, because while the first time visitor to your site may be looking to get rates, maybe they're just doing their research, but when they come back for the second time or when they're ready to book, we don't want to make that a challenge for them. And I'm sure you'll notice in the example up on the screen at the moment, it's very common to have the booking bar across the top of the website, and that would generally follow you around pretty regularly. And the other option is to have, on the left-hand side there, you can see there's sort of the vertical booking widget. And I've another question.
Yeah, there's a question comes through about the website design from Nairi, and the question is content versus imagery. What is your recommended ratio? This is to do with and also with the relation to web and mobile, the difference between the different formats, the mobile platform and the
yeah, great, thank you. And really important, the difference, isn't it, between the two devices. So I'll actually, as we go through the websites that I'm going to show you as examples today, I think their balance is really good. So my recommendation is short, punchy, consumable content, not huge scrolls of paragraph text, particularly at the higher level of your website. So the pages that people first get to, they're generally looking to get lots of information to form their opinion. As you go down to the next level of detail, or you might have expander folders, you can start to give people more detail. But certainly at that first page that they're going to land on, and they want to get a snapshot of the environment, if you like, that they're looking at, people want really short, consumable copy. On the mobile, they want less again. So I wouldn't have any detailed content on the mobile. I mean, you'll need terms and conditions and those types of things. But in terms of the big read, leave that for your desktop. You'll often see websites that have read more. So they'll give you a little paragraph and it says read more, which is also another good alternative. So you're providing the content there for people who do seek that extra layer of detail, but at face value, and I'll demonstrate as we go to these websites in a minute, you'll notice that it's very easy to consume the high level content at first glance, and choose to go further if you wish, because that extra layer of content is also important for search. So we want to have that content on the website, but we don't want people scrolling down mountains of text because they get overwhelmed and they'll leave to another website. So I hope that answers your question. So with the booking widgets, what I'll do now is I might just flick over to Airbnb, of course a very successful website, and I just want to have a look at their booking widget. And you'll actually notice, if we could just flick over to the web, thank you. You'll actually notice with Airbnb, this is a little cocoon in Trinity Beach, just down the road from me. But so no matter where I am on Airbnb, the booking widget it's right there. And we just talked about short consumable copy as well. So, I've got a description here. It's getting straight into my user-generated content so I can see the star rating. I've got nice little icons here to show me the amount of guests, how many bedrooms, how many beds. Talks about the space, the amenities. I'm not overwhelmed with any particular content at this point in time. But you'll notice as I scroll down, the booking widget stays with me. So it doesn't get lost in the top of the site. So I think that's a very effective feature of Airbnb. And most booking sites will have widgets that you can set to behave this way. And again, we're going down the content here. There aren't mountains and mountains of text. They're just presenting me with short consumable content. And I'll be coming back to this page quite a bit today, and I'll be just highlighting different things as we sort of go through the presentation. But I just wanted to highlight that booking widget that actually rolls down the page with you. You can also use with the Resdy platform, for example, or whether it's Booking Button or many of the different platforms that'll hotelier, they actually have widgets that you can place on your website. So it actually just takes it takes the content from your booking engine and the pictures and the text and the words that are in your booking engine, and it displays it back on displays it on your website. So it's actually drawing content from the booking engine where you're managing your inventory. It's your live inventory, and you've got all your content, and it will just display that. So it takes a live feed and these widgets. So there might be a dozen widgets that you can choose from, and you can say, look, I like that layout, and I'd like to place that on my website. It's literally just a copy and paste of some code that your web developer will drop into your website, and it displays content directly from the booking engine. So it's really powerful. A conversation I recently had with a high-end tourism operator, and when I say high-end, I mean quite expensive, intimate, small group products, and they were worried about putting a booking engine onto their website because what they're looking to do is they're looking to get contact from the customer because they like to chat with the customer, tailor the tour to meet their needs. So they had stayed away from having a booking engine with live availability because they thought it would lose that connection with the customer. It'd lose their ability to upsell and cross-sell and let them know that if that date didn't suit, there'd be another date. What we talked about is that we can still encourage people to call the business, but what people like to do online is, I was researching a trip to Nepal recently, and I have 100 questions. So I really need to talk to somebody, but I know I can only go during these dates. I know my budget, so the first thing I wanted to do was filter down the suppliers simply by cost of trip, range roughly, and availability. So I wanted to know when the trips were leaving. So until I had those things clear in my mind, I didn't want to waste time talking with Intrepid Travel if they didn't have a tour in my budget range going to where I wanted to go at the time roughly I wanted to leave. So even though I used that booking engine, I might not book through that booking engine, but it was a great planning tool for me. It's also helped the business, and they've had it running for a while now, and it's been really good for them. People are still calling, but they're more prepared when they're calling, so they're more qualified. So it increases their conversion of sale. So it's been a really good tool for them. And it's also really helped organise the back end of their business, because it's in effect, it's an operational system for them as well. So hotels have been using booking engines for quite a long time now, which helps manage their inventory. Where tours and attractions have still been, a lot of them are still running without booking engines, running on spreadsheets and often paper or Google Calendar sort of type scheduling systems. The online booking engines are really helping people tidy up the back end of their business. They've got live product on the website to help people plan, and some people are booking direct. So I really encourage you, if you don't have an online booking engine, I'd really encourage you to move down that pathway. This is one of the widgets. It's not the most beautiful widget I could find, but this is coming directly from the booking engine. So it's a widget that shows, there's a tour one, a bit of a map and a departure date, a trip name, and these are actually their top deals. So what deals and specials are for me, it's simply yield management. So it's not discounting your product, it's yield management. So if there are times of the year where you're full, well, forget about deals. But we all have shoulders and we all have low seasons. So nothing wrong at all with putting out specials for your product, manage them through your booking systems, because you can set it so once if you can say, once I've got 4 of those sold, turn off the deal. So it's really just like the airlines do, the hotels do, rent-a-cars are doing. For tours, attractions, I really encourage you to think about yield managing, whether it's a seat on a bus, or whether it's a spot on an extended tour or whatever it is, where there's the availability to build your shoulders and yield manage, I'd encourage you to look at booking engines as a way to really improve your bottom line. Lead generation. This is an interesting space because I'm sure we've all noticed that more recently now, this little thing will pop up in front of you. So when you go to a website, it's ping, sign up. And look, if you're really into what they're offering, you might be tempted to do that. If you're not, it might annoy you. So there are a lot of poor applications of this lead generation marketing, I believe, but there are ways to do it effectively. So when you sign up with some lead generation software, and one I'm using is called Jump Lead, there are lots of them out there, you can actually set when the light box it's called, which says, please, if you'd like to follow us, whether you'd like to receive, just information, think of it as an e-newsletter, join our database. Sometimes you might incentivize people if you like the top 10 picnic spots in Western Australia or the Margaret River. Download the PDF if you give us your email. So sometimes you can give them something in return. I generally find that the best practice is often just to say, look, if you'd like to keep up to date with our specials and our, whether it's a recipe from a local chef or whether it's the best walking tracks or, whatever you've got of value, just give people the opportunity. But you can decide how many seconds before that pops up. You can also say, once it's popped up once, for that person, never ever pop it up again. I'll often go back to the same site, as I am now, because I'm planning trips at the moment, and it keeps trying to get me, and it really annoys you. So I think it's a really effective tool because as long as you only put it to somebody once, you're not going to annoy them to the point they'll disappear. If they're engaged enough with your product, they will give you the email address, so they're a highly qualified person. It's called permission marketing. So they have said, please communicate with me. So your response rate with that person, even if it's only 1 in 200, that database is a really qualified database. If they don't decide to sign up with you with the lightbox, if they just dismiss it, but then they go through your website and they love what you're about, you just need to make sure that there's always a sign up for the e-newsletter, generally in the footer, but maybe in other parts of your website. So it's got to be an easy thing to find. So if they don't jump on board with the lightbox, they can jump on board with their own registration as they go through. And once you've built your database, the standard application is an e-newsletter. So the software that actually, and these are monthly subscription softwares, go and have a look at Jump Lead, that's a UK product, there are lots of them, but they will charge you a monthly fee to access their system. It's really depending on how many people you get to your website, or how many people are in your database, or how many times you want to hit them with a communication in a year. So there are different packages, and it's quite cost effective to get started. And what they actually offer is what's called, I think they call it intelligent communications or something fancy. But what it's saying is that Jump Lead or the software will recognise the consumer behaviour. So if you send out the first email newsletter, you might say, send this out 3 days after someone signs up to the newsletter. So it's automatically sent out. You've already got it loading there. And you might have different content on there. Maybe it's something from the chef, maybe it's something about a walking trail, maybe it's a honeymoon thing, maybe it's something more active or more wildlife centred. And if somebody clicks on the honeymoon, so, well, that's interested me, the system will recognise that they have clicked on honeymoon. So you can decide then to send them out the next standard email, or maybe you might have a honeymoon email. So you can say, recognise that person has clicked on honeymoons in their first e-newsletter, and in 7 days' time send them out the honeymoon email. And then flick them back after that, 7 days or 14 days, or we don't want to spam people, or a month, then flick them back to the standard second newsletter. Then they might click on food. So once they've clicked on food and they've downloaded the flambe prawns from the south coast of Tasmania, then flick them to the food-based newsletter. So you can set the parameters as to how you want the newsletter to behave based on what people interact with. You can also then, say it's in 12 months' time and you've built a database, you can say, let's send something special out to everybody who's clicked on golf. or everyone who clicked on luxury accommodation, or everyone who clicked on walking. So you can segment that database and just hit send a particular piece of communication. And of course, all of the tools in terms of how many people opened it and what they clicked on and how many have unsubscribed, and all of the data that you can drown yourself in is all available with this platform as well. So I'd probably call it a next step. It's probably an advanced form of website marketing. But once you've got your core website humming, it's a really nice next step to take in terms of being a little more proactive and building that database that you can talk to at very minimal cost, but they're very highly qualified. So have a look at that one. Live chat. So live chat, I love live chat. I particularly use it to talk to businesses like Telstra or Google or different web companies, because I don't like sitting on the phone. Some people don't like calling because they feel they're going to get pressured. If you send an email, maybe the email doesn't come back for a day, but you're looking for a response now. So you can have live chat. So it will say live chat's turned on, sorry, someone will be back at 7 tomorrow, or you can say, or it'll just say, someone's available to chat with you. So if you have a really small business and you're always out and about, there's no point having live chat. But if you have an accommodation house and there's someone on the front desk or someone out the back office or someone who can reasonably regularly attend the inquiry, you need to have someone there. When chat's on, someone needs to be there to respond. You can even divert it to your phone if you want to literally say bing, that someone wants to chat with me. It'll come up on your phone and you can have a live conversation. So live chat simply, I will put in my name, I'll put my email address in, and I will ask a question. And somebody, the big companies have call centres, of course, all over the world, but somebody will ping back and say, so we'll just have a conversation back and forth using messaging online. It's a really nice way for people to communicate with you. The people who aren't ready or aren't comfortable to talk with you directly, but they have questions they want answers for straight away. And the younger the audience, the more they're loving live chat. So live chat's only going to get more popular, but you just need to be able to service it, to a reasonable level, and just make sure it's turned off or diverted to your phone when you're out and about. But if it's right for your business, live chat's a really powerful tool, and certainly adds to your business conversion if you've got the capability of running live chat. There are lots of free and fairly cheap live chat services as well. Just type in live chat suppliers online and you'll find lots of people offering you live chat services. The Jump Lead example I used a minute ago with the database, they have a live chat included in that whole package, so it's part of the deal. So there are different options out there for you. But and your web developer, really important you have a really good partnership with a good web developer, because you need them pushing back to you with ideas. It's really important they get proactive with you, and you should expect that from them. And you can sort of keep up to date with these sorts of things as they occur. But live chat's a winner if it works for you. We've got this peculiar setup in tourism, of course, as well, because if we're dealing with travel trade or media, they're often looking to download pictures, or they might want some video to pop on their website. They might want some copy, just contact details, press releases. So really important, and it doesn't really cost much to anything, just to have an agent login on your agent and media login on your website as well. So this is another aspect of a high-performing tourism website. So when the agent wants something, if they're talking to you, you can just flick them off. They don't need unique passwords. There's nothing on there that's, top secret. So the system will just generally say, apply for a password, and automatically you'll send them through a login and a password. It could be the same one as everybody gets. You could decide to make it unique if you would like. And all of the tools are available to set this up really easily. It just enables a place for trade and media, to engage with your business. It just makes it easier for them to do business with you. A very minimal cost. I suggest every tourism website should absolutely have that level of function on its website, and you can really vary. If you go to some of the big players, they're really quite sophisticated engines. But I really think it just needs to be simple for small business. You know, as long as I can download some pictures and video, I can grab some content in a press release, find out who I need to talk to. It's a really important aspect to your business. So I recommend you have a travel agent booking portal. Cross-selling and upselling, I think, is really important, and a lot of this you'll find will come in the widgets of your booking engine. So here you can see I've used Airbnb, it looks like. And what they're saying here is I had a look for some accommodation, and down the bottom it said, look, here are some similar listings. So what we're sort of doing here is we might be cross-selling. If it's a tour, we might be cross-selling other locations, different types of tours, but relevant to the customer I'm talking to. Of course, for accommodation, we might be trying to upgrade. Maybe the accommodation that I looked at was not available on those dates. So I'm always, sort of saying, look, here's a little bit more. And you'll notice that there was a question before about, how much content. I mean, the way that Airbnb and a lot of these other businesses, they communicate, it's really straight to the point. So here's the price, here's some basic information, and they just encourage you to look out more. The other thing they have on here is you'll see the love hearts we've got. So what they're doing is encouraging you to save your favourites. So you can click on that. It just simply adds that to a really simple little database. You've probably all used it before. So as you're going through the website, you can save things that you like. More relevant for sites with a lot of options on it. And then you can email that to yourself, share it with a friend, print it out. So those functions are really important as well. So really important to always think about, even though I've got someone on this page with this particular thing, whether you're a rent-a-car, you should be selling other cars. If you're accommodation, you should always be selling other room types. If you're a tour, make them aware of other tours and other products. So always take the opportunity. It's sort of down the bottom or the side of your website. It's, you don't want to push this to people because they want to see your Kimberley tour is what they've come to see. But as they get to the bottom of the page, you want to start introducing them to other options because they've sort of exhausted what they need to know about that particular product. So we're just making it easy for people to continue engaging with your business. This is another example. People love to know what other people are doing, popular culture. So if you have a look, this is on Peregrine. So if I'm having a look at a particular tour, and I'll go through that tour and we'll have a look at all of this live on the websites before too long. It'll actually say to me, look, here's what other people like. Here's what's most popular. You see it a lot in clothing brands or on Amazon. It'll say people also bought this book, or here are our top sellers. So it's not an old idea, but people are really interested in what other people think and what other people are looking at. So it's just a nice way. Again, a lot of the booking engines will have these widgets. If you're a large enough business, you might choose to get some things custom developed. But wherever you can, try and use these booking engines and the tools they have to their fullest capability.
Actually, David, we've just had another question come through from Graham.
Great.
It's about cross-selling. Mm-hmm. What do you think about the idea of cross-selling other products? For example, an accommodation site selling travel insurance, travel sims, currency exchange.
Yeah, thanks, Graham.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, thanks, Graham. I certainly feel if you've got the capability, your business has the capacity to offer, which is a bit of a one-stop shop, so it's relevant products, fantastic. I mean, the easier you can make life for the consumer, the better. What you need to make sure, though, is how you're integrating those products with your own website. So what we don't like to do is to click people off to another website, because that departs people from your site. Maybe they go to a travel insurance site and they see someone else's business on there, changes their thought process, they're off somewhere else. So generally speaking, a rent-a-car is another good example. And most of the rent-a-car companies will actually allow you to embed their booking engine into your website. So people can book a car, a Thrifty or a Europe car, or one of the big names. They'll actually embed it so they don't leave your website, even though the transaction is still directly with Thrifty, and they'll actually have you in the system to take a clip. You'll get a commission on that because they recognise where the business has come from. you want to keep people in your own website environment, ideally. I also know other businesses that cross-sell each other. So if it's an accommodation house, they might decide to cross-sell other tours and products, but they often won't have a link to the website, or if they do, it's to a page which cross-sells them back. So you want to try and keep people looped in with your own web environment. You don't want to send them to places where they might get a little distracted and sort of find themselves away from your business offering. But partnerships in tourism are greatly underutilised, so anything you can do to make it easier following those rules, I'd say go for it. What I'd like to do now is we'll just flip onto the web, and I'm going to have a look at what's called a WordPress theme. So this is something that a lot of web developers actually won't really talk about, but websites are actually, most websites are built in WordPress. If you want a custom site, it'll be built in what's called a framework structure, and that's different. But everyone's probably heard of WordPress, and in the last 5 years, WordPress has really got a foothold on the market, particularly for small business. And it's a wonderful platform, and the reason it's so popular is because you can actually build a website off a theme. And I'm just going to show you what these themes are, but if you type into Google WordPress themes for rent-a-cars, or WordPress themes for accommodation or bed and breakfast or whatever it is, you go into a number of different theme sites. And what you'll find is you can see these themes here. So these websites, you could say they're pre-built, I suppose. So you're actually buying the website and it doesn't cost a lot. But then what your web developer can do for you is completely customize it. So let's sort of just jump onto one of these. You know, there are some that are better than others. You can see the live demo here I'm going to click on. So you can spend time looking through themes, and if you say, you know what, I like the look of that website. You know, it's got a nice big picture, there's a nice clean message here, I can read a bit more. As I scroll down, you know, I'm liking it, it's personalised. So maybe you're thinking, you know what, I really like the look of this website. You know, I could see my business with a website like this. But I really don't like the font, and my colours are different to that, it's too white. Or, you know, I wish these were circles instead of squares, or, you know, I really don't like that bit down the side, I'd prefer to have it along the bottom. What you can do is you can purchase a theme. I mean, your web developer would do it for you, but you purchase the theme, go to your web developer and say, I love this theme, let's build a website based on it. So it gives you a chance really to sort of start looking at the end product a little bit before you actually purchase. And then you can customise it to fit with your branding, your colours, your functionality. There is absolutely nothing you couldn't do to customise one of these themes. But it's a lot easier than starting from a blank sheet of paper. And it's a lot easier to guide your web developer down the right path. I mean, this is a nice theme here. We've got news and events, we've got videos up front here. Yeah, they've got different tabs. So again, this is a good example of nice consumable content. I'm not being flooded by content, but I've got some keywords in there. We've got icons, a little bit of animation going on there, which keeps people stimulated. We're down here with a little piece of video. Again, you know, short consumable content. I can always read more. And what you'll find is when you go up to the gallery, it's saying, well, okay, there are gallery 2, 3 and 4. There are different categories. So it actually presents you with different layouts for different pages. So here's a gallery. So if you got to here and said, you know what, I love that gallery, all you have to do is enter your content and that gallery's done. Some people who are really into web and design like to learn this themselves and off they go. It is still quite an art form. I went to the path of learning it myself and decided, no, I'm far happier for the more efficient web developers to do this work. But there are many themes out there, so I just wanted you to be aware they're there. There are some very impressive websites out there, very impressive websites, that you can run on a theme. And it's something that's not talked about a lot, but rest assured, if anyone says they're building you a WordPress website, they're starting with a theme.
David, we had another question come through from Angela again.
Yep.
So Angela runs a visitor centre.
Yep.
And her concern is about having a most popular tours display on the website.
Sure.
And whether or not that would be sort of favouring different tour companies on her for their visitor centre.
Sure, Angela. Good question. I worked for Tourism Tropical North Queensland for a few years, and the visitor centre was sort of in my team, so I can completely appreciate where you're coming from. It just depends whether you're looking to take on the hassle, I suppose. So given the most popular is consumer driven, so it's based on what transactions have come through the website. So there's no way that you can actually be proven to be favouring one operator over a next, but the perception of how that looks may be a problem for you. So that really depends on your relationship with your membership, how they might view it, whether you think it's important enough to maybe take on some of the comments you might receive. So, but I completely empathise with some of the feedback you might get on that. But your story would be solid that it is consumer-driven content. So if that's what the customer's buying, it just depends whether you want to take the fight, how important it is for your website experience. Okay, multi-language websites as well. So in terms of high performance, if you have visitors visiting your region, there's still a cost in terms of getting your content translated. But what you'll often find is there is a shallower version for Chinese and Mandarin, or for Japanese, or for German, or for whatever language you'd like to translate it to. So your website might be 40 pages deep, but when it actually gets to the international version, maybe it's only 3, 4, 5. And it's just key content. But if you're serious about working in the international market, I think it's really important that you invest in international variations of your site. Sites actually now, a web developer will offer you the option to actually let your website automatically change its language based on the IP address, which is sort of the address of the home of the website. So if someone's searching in Germany, your system can recognise that and immediately present them with a website in German. The only problem is if you're travelling, you sort of take away the choice of the consumer. So I think that technology is a bit young at the moment. So for me, I recommend you just run with an English website. But you see on the top right of this Quicksilver website, we've actually got just some flags there. I think people are quite comfortable with that. So if you click on one of those flags, it'll just take you to what in effect is a shortened version of the website. And what they do is they make sure the content though is particularly scripted and worded, so it's completely unique content to connect with the Japanese traveller. The photography is unique. They're speaking to them in the right way, in the right style. They're describing the experience in the right way. They're putting content that's relevant to that market. They're not just translating content on their English site. So they're very specific to speak with their country. So it doesn't cost a lot to create the other sites. The cost is more in creating the content to populate the international pages.
So David, we have another question from Nairi.
Mm-hmm.
So she's asking, what are the current trends in look and feel of websites in your opinion? So she's asking about personability versus
sure,
fun, quirky, professional, humorous, serious, and so on.
Okay, well, it really depends. So there are two things I'd look at there. One is your brand personality needs to be expressed. So if you're targeting backpackers and you have a fairly young, youthful, vibrant brand, you want to express that in terms of your imagery, your content, your style. In terms of the website, if you're targeting a more premium, indulgent market, you need to reflect that brand personality. So I think the first step is to get clear on your brand personality, and the way to do that is to describe your brand as a person. An example I'll use, so if we think about Virgin, Jetstar and Qantas, if those if those brands were people and they were standing in corners of the room, the Virgin brand you would describe as a different person with different character traits. They'd look differently, they'd act differently, they'd probably be interested in different things. Qantas would be different again. Jetstar would be, what do they like to be around? How do they behave? So we see brands with human characteristics, and that's because of the emotional connection we have with brands. So if you go through that exercise of describing your business, your brand as a person, that will help you decide on how you want to project yourself, which is all about connecting with your audience. So that's purely from a personality point of view. The other aspect of that is design, if you like. So what you will notice now is that most modern websites are very light on design. So they're all about functionality and layout and function. So before, what we used to do is try and take our beautiful brochure with all of the design elements on that brochure, and we try and replicate that onto our website. But what that actually did was it actually restricted us in terms of the functionality. You know, websites are completely interactable, so what's more important is their layout and their function rather than the fact you've got your brand swirl here or there. So, and the next step to that is the current trend in layout. Maybe a year and a half ago, it was all about what's called parallax scrolling. And I might have an example of that here. But that's where an image sort of stays steady as the other one slowly passes it. And just a cool effect. So parallax scrolling was the big trend. The big trend now is all about grids. So you'll notice that grids are sectioned in the content is sectioned in really clear, consumable pieces, often with different colours or bands. So it's really easy as a user to see that here is some content with a particular focus and a message. Here's something else. So really easy for people to consume that content. So that's why it's important to, one, express your personality, which can largely be done through images, language and video and imagery and your content. But yeah, make sure you've got, and when you look at the WordPress themes, just look at the most recently designed ones. You'll notice that they will embrace the latest trend in terms of layout. Okay. So, layout and content, very timely. Okay. So, well, there we go. So, relax and scroll. So, what I might do is just flick across now to, and I'll go back into Airbnb and show some examples, is that scrolling in a website, it used to be that you'd want to get all of your content in the top third of a website. That was the rule, you know, because people don't like to scroll. And before we became obsessed with our mobile phones, that was the case. So, but now we're used to scrolling down the page. We're used to scrolling down websites. So, as long as the website is visual and relaxed and it's intriguing, so you wonder what's coming next, people are happy to scroll down a page. And that scroll can just keep on going as long as the content, you can see the grid approach here, as long as that content is engaging, I will keep scrolling. If we have a look at Intrepid, same sort of thing. As long as the content is engaging and I'm interested in what's next, I will keep scrolling through. And you can notice how it's not all jammed up together, lots of white space, lots of clean air. So it's quite a pleasurable experience to sort of flick through. I can read little paragraphs of copy. It's a very relaxed site. So that relax and scroll feature is really very important. The other thing that's important is what I call a segmented homepage. So on your homepage, what we're looking to do is we're looking to direct people to the page of the website that's the most relevant to them. So generally that will not be the home page. The home page is really an overview of our business, and what we're looking to do is we want people to see themselves on the home page. That's it. The honeymoon suite, that's what I want. Or that's it, I'm really focused on the conference centre. Or that's it, I'm after a small group wildlife tour. You can see here with Peregrines Adventures what they're trying to do, and whether it's through navigation, different travel styles, but in terms of their layout, they're trying to get me in the right spot. So, you know, here we go, small group holiday package. Is that what's on my mind? Maybe I'm looking for a deal. Maybe I'm more focused about, the local experience or the small groups, or maybe the accommodation's what's on my mind. Down here, maybe I want to have a look at, what's most popular. Maybe they can segment me by destination. That's it, Middle East. That's what I'm after. So what they're trying to do here, Intrepid's exactly the same. They're trying to get me to the most relevant page on the website. Urban adventures, that's me. Food, expeditions, sailing. A deal, I'm in. So they're trying to get us. Here are some others. Top selling trips, same sort of thing. Blogs, here are our blogs down the bottom. Okay, that interests me. I'm looking to travel there. I'm looking for a bike holiday. So it's really important that the home page, travel style. Again, all they're trying to do here is get me to the page that's most relevant to what I'm considering at this point in time. Most recently viewed, just gives me a bit of a background. So looking at your homepage in the same way, no matter what your business, is really very important because it gets people to where they want to go as quick as possible. And the more relevant and pinpoint conversation we can have with people on your website, the greater chance there is of conversion. We also want to have a clear value proposition. And you can see here on Intrepid Travel, small groups, big adventures. So that is their value proposition, small groups and big adventures. So right up front, it hits me. So in your marketing plan, you should have a very clear view on what it is you're offering the traveller, and you should hit them between the eyes with it. So again, the spirit of adventure. That is the value proposition for Peregrine Adventures. If we go to B&B, live there. That's the value proposition. Stay with an Airbnb, and it's like living in the destination. It's like staying with. It's not like being in a hotel. So all great websites will get that value proposition. What they want to be famous for is a way to look at it, front and centre on that website. Absolutely front and centre. Punchy content. And I think we've really covered this. So with Airbnb here, you can see here they're trying to segment me on the home page. These are the sorts of properties I've looked at. So maybe I'm coming back to the site. Here, Melbourne, Byron Bay, Brisbane, where do you want to go? Paris, Bondi Beach. So they're trying to get me to the right part of the website. Maybe I'm someone who wants to register. The community's not, there we go. Maybe I'm a business. Maybe I want to create something, tailor my own. So again, they're trying to segment, but there's not a lot of content on that home page. When we get to Intrepid, for example, a good example here, and this is what's called a mega menu. So see how there's a lot of content up the top here as I'm rolling across. I actually don't have a mega menu in that list, but I probably should have. A very quick way to get to what I'm after straight away. So if I say themes, great, cycling. If I say destinations, let's have a look at Kenya. I'm off to Kenya. Again, there's just a little bit of content. They're presenting tours to me. I can see there's just a little bit of content. I can always view more. I can always read more. Here's some reviews. Here's a little bit of video to engage me. Here are some articles. These are some blogs that are specific to Kenya. They're not just random blogs. Here's a map. And we will cover all this, but we're really covering it now as time's getting short.
Yeah, there's another question, Dave.
Sure.
Naira's put forward another question.
Please.
Should we review and change layout of the websites and around the frequency, yearly or so on?
I think it's more important to keep your content fresh than it is your layout. So change your layout if by looking at your Google Analytics you've got blockages. So if you can see someone's leaving a page all the time, or you've got some intelligence that shows you that a page isn't working as well as it could, or you see a competitor or somebody else that you look up to and say, wow, they're doing it differently and better, that's a reason to change layout. But you always want to have your content fresh. And The reason that's important is, yes, people might come back, but more from a search perspective. Google loves people who look at their websites and change content, keep it fresh. And the blogs are really good ways to do that. So you don't need to get obsessed with changing content regularly. As long as you've got your blogs, you keep your imagery fresh and up to date so it represents your product, you're adding new videos, collecting them. That's more important than layout. Layout's really all about performance, or if there's a trend that you believe you'd like to catch up on. And changing layout in WordPress sites, sure, it costs money, but it's just not like it used to be. It can be quite affordable to keep up with trends every couple of years to refresh certain sections of your website. Thank you. So in terms of consumable copy too, here we're into the trip now. So again, we've got dates. We can view itineraries. We've got these tabs. As you can see, I'm not being overwhelmed. We've got some highlights. I can bring these down and read a bit more, or I can bring them back up. So the short consumable copy is really important in terms of how people are behaving and what they're looking for at that first look. You'll find once people engage a little more with your product, your business, they will then want to read your blogs. They'll then want to watch videos. They'll want to start reading more. But at this top level, we want to keep it nice and punchy. And that goes through to the relevance of blogs. So I'm not sure if we have got blogs on here. We don't seem to have any articles relating to this trip. We've got highlights. But what I'd like to see on this page is that if this is a particular tour, I'd like to see a blog which is loaded onto the website as a whole, but what it actually has is content that's relevant to that particular tour. What we don't want to have is content that's not relevant to the page I'm on. So when you load a blog up, you can actually tag that blog. So you can tag it with the name of your tour, and then you can say just display blogs on this page with that tag. So it's really easy to make sure that while you'll have a blog page which has all of your content, that you put them specifically on the pages that are relevant to that article, which is really important. And the same goes for reviews. So if you're pulling together reviews of your business, which are just so important these days, make sure that it's relevant to that tour or that room type, or try and be as specific, in a perfect world, be as specific as you can. If you can't be that specific, just have your reviews on your homepage or on a particular page. The best practice would be that you would have a review absolutely relevant to the page that person is on, would be absolutely best practice. User-generated content's the next thing I'd like to talk about. And what I mean by user-generated content is content that has been taken by a traveller. So this is a client of mine that I really think is breaking ground in Tasmania, called Innkeepers Tasmania. And this is a custom thing we've built, but what we do every morning is the team goes in every morning, takes them probably 15 minutes, and they go into an engine, a little bit of software. It's called Zoomph, Z-O-O-M-P-H. That's, of course, what you'd call it. And what we do is we follow hashtags and we follow Instagram pages of content all across Tasmania. And what we do is we go through, the value proposition is unlocking the secrets of Tasmania. That's what we're all about at Innkeepers. So we go through and we pick content that's from other people, and you can see that their name and their pictures up there. And we say, love that, love that, love that. Let's share that content. But what we do that's quite unique, so you can do this, there are what are called plugins for WordPress, and you can share content, whether it's just your own content on off your own Instagram account, or whether you'd like to, what's called harvest other people's content. But you can see the quality of this content is really quite amazing. And we don't have to send photography crews. When it's in winter, there'll be content of winter shots because this content was taken this morning. So it's always incredibly relevant. If there's an event on, you'll see, like here in Hobart, Dark Mofo has just started. So they put the red on the bridge. So you'll actually see we have relevant content. And what we've done, which is quite unique here, is we're actually saying, well, let's tag this content by region and experience and popularity. So what we can do is say, show us all content for Cradle Mountain. And this engine's only been up for a little while, so it's a little slow in loading. So we're working through all of that. But what it does is that it sorts and brings up all of the user-generated content, which is loading at the moment, from Cradle Mountain. The other option we might want to do, and as you can see, this is content that we're crediting back to the person who took it, but look at the quality of that content. It would cost thousands and thousands of dollars, let alone the time to management, to get this type of content. So it's very rich, highly relevant content. The other thing we can do here is we can browse by experience. So let's browse by events. And this is early days, before long we'll say browse events in Hobart and then sort that by popularity. And popularity means the content with the most posts and comments. So here are events. So I encourage you to get social content on your website. It's real, there's no marketing spin, it was taken by someone probably that day, and it's very powerful content. But that is a custom engine that we're building. Also, I think something else that's really important is personalising. We're in the business of we're in the people business. So here we can see meet your expert local guide. So there's a picture of him. We can see when we go to Intrepid, up to the home page, we've got a user review somewhere. Okay, so they're sort of personalising it here. So what we want to do is we want to show content that brings the human side to our business. And I know if staff change over, it's a hassle, but it really doesn't take, all you need to do is take a new photo, upload it, and you're on your way. So I really encourage you to profile your people, profile your guides, profile your team, and really sort of work towards that best practice in terms of the human aspect of your website. Another thing that's relevant when we're looking at maps and journeys. So I'm just going to go back to Airbnb to look at this. So, when we go to a new place in particular, maps are particularly important for us. It helps us get our bearings, and this might be a map of a whole region. You can see, there's just a little Google map here. You can see as I sort of go down here, again, I've just got some basic maps to give me some rough context in terms of where these different locations are. If I decide to head into a particular property, and again, nice short consumable content, the booking engine's following me down, I've got a nice image gallery, I've got reviews relevant to that product. I can sneak down to a map here, I can see here's the accommodation, here's a zone in terms of where it's in. If I'm looking at a tour company, if we go back here and I have a look at destinations, we'll go into, say, Asia, Cambodia. First thing we'll do, we're straight into maps. So they're trying to give me some context around where some of their products are. Even when we have a snapshot of the trip, we can see a little map here. Now we can't read that, but it's just showing me that there is context to what I'm about to look at. When I go and view the trip, the first thing that hits me is, here's some context. Click on that, I can see where I'm going. Really important to give people context. Some people are more valuable to others, but I think maps and journeys have really been lost in modern websites. So I think it's really important to bring them back. This is also why we love this trip. We're personalising it. This is why we love this trip. Is this trip right for you? Again, we have a gallery. We have our itinerary, which we can look at in short pieces of content. They're not mountains. We've also got our map, our availability, our booking, our price. It's all following us down. Icons, consumable content, reviews, availability, trip essentials. If you click there, you'll get a lot more information. And of course, I can always call, email, or request a brochure. In terms of video too, you'll probably notice that as soon as we go to Airbnb, on the home page, there's a nice piece of video running. So video now can be used when I go to Quicksilver, there's a nice piece of video running. So, video, it used to be a no-no for video because of constraints in terms of actually compression and page loading. If you've got the video compressed in the right way, most people's browsers are going to be able to handle this video, and I'm sure you agree that it's just such a compelling way to get your product out there front and centre. If you decide that you'd perhaps, you'd prefer not to have the video playing, just make sure that on your home page, before too long, bang. So it's not a tiny little video box. You've got a full screen piece of video. It's all about the emotion, and it's just a wonderful way to communicate your product and experience. I'll just flick back, just conscious we've only got 5 minutes to go, so we'll just flick back now and have a look at some key performance indicators. Any good strategy and plan, any good website will have measures behind it. So when you go into SEMrush, I encourage you to do a website health check. It won't cost you anything, and that will give you a rating to show you what's broken, and there'll always be something broken with your website. So go and do that health check rating, and then you can give that to your web developer, or go to your web developer and say, I would like you to do an SEMrush report on the health of my website, please. That'll tidy up a lot of the stuff in the back end for Google. Also, have a view on how many keywords you're after per page, no more than 10. Join me Monday, we'll talk about them more. But have an opinion on, so how many of these do I want in 6 months to be in the top 3? So set yourself some goals. How many unique visitors per month? What bounce rate? What conversion? So how many visitors come to my site versus how many bookings and inquiries? And you should make sure that every time you answer the phone or you get an email, the old question, where did you hear about us? Such valuable input content. So if they heard about you on the web, can get that back to your web conversion rate. How many backlinks? That's how many other websites link to your website. And you probably get emails, people will say, do you want to buy backlinks? We don't want that. A lot of dodgy work going on there. Just do your own backlinks. Other people in your industry, anything that's relevant, just link back and forth between the websites. Maybe set a goal for how many videos, how many images, how many blogs. So just think through what those measures might be. Also, I suggest you use Google Analytics, and this we've just got enough time to have a little look at Google Analytics. And there's a lot of data on here, but I'm just going to use the highlight information. This shows us here how many sessions and how many users. So 1,331 people in the last month have gone to Cruising Car Rental's website, and there's been 1,694 sessions. So you can see there's been a repeat visitor. You can see here our bounce rate is 44.57%, so that means 44% have gone to a page and left the site. That might be because they just wanted an address or a phone number. Maybe they went to the page and went straight to the booking engine. So there are reasons for that, but a good benchmark is about 30% for a normal accommodation or tour. Then we've got, average 3 pages per session, duration, 2.59, so 3 minutes, and 2.86. The stuff that's really valuable, I think, is down here under acquisition, all traffic. Let's get an overview. And this shows us that we're getting traffic here that's organic. So that's when people types in car rental cans, and the bounce rate there's 36%. So that's a very good bounce rate. So people who are finding us with what's called organic search, that links back to your keyword strategy, is our best performing business. Then we've got business that typed in our web address directly, cruisingcarrentals.com.au. Now the bounce rate's higher, but a lot of them are probably just looking for something specific they find on the page they land. So that's okay. Then we've got referral traffic. So this might be coming from other people's websites. The bounce rate's high. The reason is because a lot of it's spam. So when we go here, we've got a little bit, some Google referral, so a particular Google site. Yellow pages, it shows you yellow pages and our bounce rate. So have a look at that bounce. But here we've got spam, 100% bounce, law enforcement, whatever that is. We've got a bit from Yahoo. We've got some from a hotel provider. Keywords monitoring success is spam, Trinity Beach. So you can see there's a bit of spam in there, but it also shows you where the business is coming from. And we want to have a look at the bounce rate for this business compared to other business. So this will give you a bit of a view in terms of the quality of the business. You can also see your AdWords. So we don't have any AdWords running at the moment. But what you can do is you can link your AdWords through to the website. So then you can see you've got traffic coming to your website that's organic. That's the stuff that people are just searching and finding you. But then you're paying for the ad. So when you're paying for the ad, let's have a look at the bounce rate for that traffic and the duration on site and how many pages. Let's look at the quality of that ad we're paying for versus the stuff that's coming to us organically. From my experience, you'll find the organic traffic will be far better quality than the paid traffic. Doesn't mean you shouldn't do paid. The problem is a lot of paid traffic is misguided, too broad, not specific enough. So therefore it's poor quality, but the analytics will show you the quality of that traffic. I also recommend that you go into, I've been mentioning the site SEMrush, which I haven't got, I'll just log in. So go and have a look at this yourself, but SEMrush is a tool that you can use to have a look at your website performance. So I have a few projects running at the moment. I'm going to drop out of the industry for the purpose of this. But this is where you can get your website health rate and your ranking. So we can see here that this has got it'll just take a minute to come up, but it's got an 80% health rate on this site. So the health rate's here. And it's showing me here that there are some errors with the site, but they're all things we can fix. So this is what you want to take to your web developer. So we have 11 errors, 56 warnings. We can see here that 7 internal images are broken. So for some reason the pictures don't have, they're not linking where they should be. There's something wrong with them. 4 pages have got the same content. We don't like that. There's a lot of green. That's all happy days. Some pages have slow load speed. Some don't have meta descriptions. Again, all technical stuff, but all of this will help improve your search. A better searching website will get better traffic, hence it's a better performing website. So that's it today. We've covered an awful lot. We've finished on time. I hope you got a lot out of the session. Thanks very much to everyone for your questions and Andrew for helping me pass those questions on. I'd love to see you at the next 2 sessions. So next week on the Monday and the Thursday, same time, same place. I'm sure there'll be a different link for registration. Those sessions are on search engine optimization. So it's all about, we've got the great website, how do we get it up Google? And we will cover some of this content again, but there's a lot of new content as well. And then on Thursday, we'll talk about social media, how to get your best return out of social media. So that's it for today.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Andrew. No worries. And 1:33, we're signing off. Thanks very much. We'll tune in on Monday. Thank you.
Farewell.